Felt like you were doing too much with your life. Are you not wasting enough time? Well, throw those papers away because I'm Alexander Estrada and I'm here to introduce to you video games. Gaming is one of the most popular forms of entertainment nowadays. It is the most immersive form of media. It allowing you to be inserted into the world it takes place in. But how did gaming reach its astronomical levels of popularity? And why should you join in? Well, I'm glad you asked. What the?
Unless you've been living under a rock for the past 15 years, you're probably aware of what these things are, but you might not be able to get into it yourself, even if you really want to. So here's Alex's 2-step guide to playing a video game. Step number 1 is to choose a device to play on, which is the most important decision you have to make. Do you want a console or a different device? For consoles, you have to pick between the Nintendo consoles, which are the most accessible, but with the downside of low performance, the PlayStation, a high-power console with less accessibility and higher prices, or the Xbox. If you don't want a console, you have 3 other choices. Computers are usually considered the most powerful option and the most customizable, but they are way less accessible. Mobile is the most popular as it's extremely accessible and portable. You also most likely have a phone already, so you wouldn't need to pay for a new device for it. But the game still might require a purchase. Virtual reality is the weird one as it's the most immersive, but it has fewer games than any other, and it can only play certain games. Next, you just gotta pick a game to play, but that's more up to you. Try to think of things you enjoy, and you'll probably find a game of it. The final thing is how you'll play it. There are generally 3 methods of playing a game. Physical and digital games you buy individually, but physical games are your own physical property, and digital games aren't. Both use a bit more energy than the alternative. You could instead stream games for a monthly fee, but I suggest only doing this if you have a steady internet connection. That probably seemed like a lot, but please remember that how you play is completely up to you.
If you know how to play games, you probably need to know why you should. So to explain that, let's go back to the past.
Gaming was invented by scientists messing around with computers to see what they were capable of. Still, they were never made public outside of arcades until the 70s, when Magnavox created the Odyssey, which completely flopped. But it did give game companies the idea of a console, which was taken advantage of, until they overloaded the market with garbage. So, that failed, until Nintendo joined in to save the day, with the NES. This time, it didn't flop, and instead led to how gaming is today. Nowadays, gaming has a lot of players, so it only makes sense that they would form their own communities. An example of this is the game called Terraria. It is mods, which are player-made modifications of the games, maps, player-made levels or worlds of the game, resource, never mind, gotta censor all that, and way more, like guides for new players and fan art. A gaming community is where the players of a game go to show their enjoyment of the game. The communities can even go further into competitions. Every year, thousands of people go to watch people compete to see who has been outside the least within the past year, with a large prize on the line. This is called esports and is a growing form of competition that has great earning potential. Another form of competition is speedrunning. These are competitions of speed. They have some events, but it's usually done on your own with a single recording. Speedrunners take games to their limits to beat it as fast as possible. A common way of doing so is by exploiting glitches in the game, which are allowed unless you're doing a glitchless run. While I may not be a professional speedrunner, I used to try speedrunning and got really good at it, mainly the original Mario Bros. So I can say from personal experience that nothing compares to locking in on a good run. It's almost addicting. But I was forced to stop when my Wii broke, and I never recovered. So I'm not as good anymore. Now, like many things, but especially you, video games have flaws. Otherwise, I wouldn't have called it a waste of time in the beginning. One main flaw is that it uses a crap ton of energy, depending on how you play. Usually, playing games on modern consoles will use a lot of energy, but since the assignment limits me to 5 minutes, I'll just show a graph I got from the thesis on the University of Surrey website that gives a general outlook on it. Video games can be so positive that some schools are using games to teach important lessons and skills. A good example of this is how a school out there used Phoenix Wright to teach how to use your brain properly. It's also important to mention how, according to this graph that I got from the Brain Scientist Journal, different game genres have different effects on the brain. Well, I'm not smart enough to know exactly what all this means. I can't understand enough to say that gaming can change your brain, for better or worse. It also states that playing for an acute 16 hours is beneficial to the brain, so make of that what you will.
With all these reasons, you have no excuse to not join in the gaming community. It has so many things to help you forget whatever productive thing you were doing at the time. It is risen for a reason. So what are you waiting for? Join in the video game community now!